Good morning. It is time for gaming. We've actually got two Switch 2s over here. Um I Obviously one of these is for my friend at work. One of them my mom is going to buy. And then I've got I've got one here for me today. One of them is not coming until June 10th. It's the one from Target, but Walmart pulled through and delivered these today at 6:35 a.m. I've also got a Pro controller. I also still have a cough. So we got a Pro controller here. This is the one I'll be opening because it includes the Mario Kart digital download inside. And then this is the one I won't be opening. It's the same, except it just doesn't have that digital download of Mario Kart. I've got my other Switches here to compare sizes to, and we'll just get cracking, I guess. So looks like we have a piece of tape. Got my slicer. And there it is in all its glory. So I think we'll start with Joy-Cons and see what they feel like and what their size feels like. They're definitely bigger. I can tell that right away. We'll compare with my my Zelda edition Switch. Here is the difference in size. It's quite a bit taller. Bigger stick, looks like. Bigger buttons. Side buttons are much bigger. And they push so much easier. So yeah, okay, feeling this sideways, it's much more comfortable to hold. You can see like these buttons are bigger, so they're way easier to press. Nice analog stick. It's bigger. Buttons are bigger. They feel pretty much this. I mean, they feel like Switch buttons. Okay, they feel about the same, but the buttons do. But they're bigger, and then yeah, just everything feels more premium. And I just like that it's physically larger, so it's just physically more comfortable to hold if you're playing this in like one-handed mode. It still feels bad to use the right one because you've got the stick right in the middle. That will never feel good. They'll never fix that. Just because when you're holding it the other way, if they had this stick like way down here to be comfortable in sideways mode, it would feel awful. So, but yeah, these actually feel really good in the hand. They're nice and big, comfortable. Feels good so far. Definitely feels good so far. Mechanisms have changed a bit. So instead of having the slidey, now they snap on the side with magnets. And okay, so this little trigger here on the side. You would never press this in normal gameplay. This is the button that removes the Switch Joy-Cons from your Switch 2 console. And you can see this little thing that pops out there. That is how it looks like it's disconnecting the magnets. So you don't have to tug it off. You just press this little thing and this plastic stick pops it off and you're good to go. We got like a sync button, the same 4 lights on the side that you would see with a normal Switch controller. There's the sync button there. This pin is for the pin-based connector on the console. And then right next to it is some other sort of sensor. Not quite sure what that is. I'm gonna have to see what it connects to try and get a better idea of what that might actually be. I'm not really sure what that little sensor, this detector in here, what that is. I'm not sure if it's a sensor or if it's a detector of some sort that detects when it's connected. I mean, that might be the magnet. I really don't know. But yeah, so just way bigger though, like so much different in the hand to hold. Way bigger. Feels more premium. Feels heavier. Just feels nicer overall. So there's that. Now we'll get to the actual console. This is also quite a bit larger. I can already tell. Feels pretty much the same in the hand. It's heavier. Actually, it might be a little lighter than an OLED Switch. You can see that it's quite a bit larger for sure. Bezels are smaller on the front too. Teeny tiny bezels on the sides. Not sure how well you can really see those. Um, this is the kickstand. Feels good. Just like the OLED Switch kickstand was much improved from. Well, actually, I've got an original. I've got one of everything here. So here's my Monster Hunter original Switch one, and you had the horrific original kickstand. This little tiny thing that was absolutely terrible and sucked ass and was just not very good. The OLED Switch switched over to this guy, this really big, like much more stable and substantial feeling uh, kickstand. This one could go so you could almost like lay it flat on the thing on the table. And then it looks like the Switch 2 has the same design for the mechanism. The mechanism feels the same. You can lay it almost flat, but it's just got like this. It's this U-shaped thing, almost like. Honestly, it sort of feels like we're back to the GameCube carry handle. um, that would be honestly very tight if they put a carry handle on this thing again. I wouldn't really do this, but that's fun. So on the sides, they've got a little color coded red and blue inlay. So you've got the red side here and a little plus, and then you've got the blue side here with a little minus, showing you which controllers go where. And then you've got that pin connector that slots into that middle slot. And yeah, this doesn't appear to connect to anything. So I'm pretty sure I was right. This is some sort of sensor or camera, um, or it's a magnet. I'm not quite sure which one. I'll have to investigate the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour in order to get acquainted with what that is. I'm sure it'll tell me because it tells you all where everything is. That's available on the eShop, Nintendo eShop for only $9.99. The instruction manual for the console. I think that's actually more of a game. It has a lot of like demos and like tech demo-y things and stuff like that. But honestly, you know, they packed Astro's Playroom in with the PS5, and I played that game for like 5.5 hours, and it had a platinum, and it was really fun and great, and that shit was free. So come on, Nintendo, it should be free with the console. That's idiotic. Okay. One thing that I think is kind of interesting is with the reason that they have this plus and this minus and not just the color coding, I think is because you know, you're going to match up the little plus button or the minus button. Um, but if you bought a different colored Switch Joy-Con in the future, it might not match. I would assume, you know, like they get pretty crazy with some of the Joy-Con colors. And my assumption would be that down the road, if they put out like a Splatoon one that's like green and purple again or something like that, or like Zelda Gold ones like they normally do, then they wouldn't match the red and blue. So yeah, that's probably why they did that plus and minus coating as well, so you know and you don't mess up. I mean, I don't know that you could put the wrong side. I don't. Would it? Yeah. Okay. It does just go in wrong. You can put it in wrong. I just put it in backwards, and you can. So, um, whatever. Anyways, okay. So Joy-Con's connected. Let's just do that real quick. That's super smooth and easy. The magnet really guides it right in, and you can hear here if you hear it. Yeah, it just really snaps in there super easily. They come off. You just press the button and it just pops right off. Feels very smooth. Different motion than the original Switch, but it still feels very good. So no worries there. I'm looking down sometimes at my face. Sorry, my camera's really high up on this computer. Uh, in the hand, feels good. It's definitely quite a bit bigger than the regular Switch. Button placement all feels pretty good. Maybe a little weird to drop down to the D-pad buttons. It always is a little weird on the Switch consoles, just because they have to be so far down. Yeah, feels nice. I don't have a Steam Deck or a ROG, so I'm not sure how those feel. I've never really held one of those in my hands before. Well, actually, I've held a Steam Deck. Um, this doesn't feel quite as nice as a Steam Deck does in the hands. There's not that more substantial back to it that the Steam Deck has. It just feels a little bit more ergonomic. This feels definitely thinner, but it's still very thin. It's actually famously they or not famously if you're not a nerd and watch all the stuff, but they talked about how it's the same thickness as the original Switch. So you can see like the thickness is the same. Pretty crazy that they managed to make a console that's significantly more powerful. This thing can do 1080p in handheld mode. It can do 4K while docked. It can do 120 FPS. Um, like this thing is much more powerful than the original Switch, and it's larger in the screen department, so more power needed to drive that larger screen. But surprisingly, shockingly, still the same thickness as the original Switch, which is pretty nuts. So we'll go ahead and go back to. I want to put the Joy Cons on and see what it feels like. How this compares in size overall. The Switch 2. Oops. Let me do this. Switch 2 is much larger, significantly larger. Yeah, this one does have an LCD screen. It's not an OLED. Important distinction there for sure. USB-C on the bottom. This is going to get a little bit tougher to see. Let me get a little closer. So the bottom, you got USB-C port here. Those same cones that help guide the system into the dock. Cutaways here could be vents, could be speakers, not quite sure. Wonder. Okay, SD card slot is underneath the kickstand like it was in the old console. Um, this guy takes, I believe, micro SD XE. It's got like their express cards, express micro SD. I don't know. SD cards are such a mess when it comes to formats. I didn't even buy one because I think it's got 256 gigabytes of built-in memory, which should be enough for Nintendo games, at least for a little while. And they were all sold out everywhere. Here's my Mario Kart World, my copy of Mario Kart World. Don't get a physical copy. That's pretty normal with any console these days that has a packed-in game. Health and safety info. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, an HDMI Ultra high-speed cable. That's what you want to see. That's good quality cable. You always want an ultra high speed for those faster frame rates and those higher resolutions. So these are really weird. Here's the new Joy-Con grippy. I don't know what you call these. The Joy-Con side clicker honors, I guess. I actually don't know what these are called. But here they are. Let's put one on and see what it's like. So these are to make, part of this is to make, oh, duh, idiot. Wow. This sensor here, that's the mouse mode sensor. Dude, idiot. Yeah, that's why it looks so familiar. This is an optical sensor, like on the bottom of a regular mouse. You see that in there? Whoa, focus on that. There you go. Yeah, that's an optical sensor. Duh. That's gonna be funny. Anyone who watches this and is like watching, they're gonna be cringing because yeah, that's for mouse mode. Um, so yeah, this guy just clicks on. Okay, yeah, no magnets. It just snaps on there, makes it just slightly more substantial in the hand, and gives you these like little glidey things. This is to, when it's in mouse mode, I think just make it a little bit more of a surface for you to use. Putting it on my mouse pad feels kind of funky in the hand because it's a super skinny. I mean, imagine using a mouse that's skinny, right? It would feel weird. Yeah, it feels a little weird for sure. How do you take these off? Oh, okay. Elegant, nice, smart. Same button, just pops it right off. And then it just clicks on. So it just clicks on with tension, pops off. I don't know. These are, a set of these is like $9.99. I don't know. Whatever. Hopefully I'll never have to buy another set of those. And they just come with the Joy-Cons because would never want to buy another one. What else we got in here? Yes, the new Joy-Con grip. So if you don't have a Pro controller, you use one of these in order to use your controllers without them being connected to the console. So if you wanted to play this on TV mode, you would just, they magnetize on just the same way they do on the regular Switch. And then you've got a little controller. Feels about the same as it did on the original Switch. About the same. No big differences here. One thing to note, and I figured this, is that there's no electronics in this thing. So the little connectors, instead of having a little pinned connector, it's just a piece of plastic, just to hold it in there firmly. Then you've got USB-C to USB-C cable, charging wart, and lastly should be the dock. This thing has gotten a pretty significant upgrade. It's rounded now, beautiful. Mechanisms inside are still the same. So you've still got the little guy that, I don't know if I can even reach it since it's wider. Yeah, I can't really reach it, but the little guy inside is what pops down. You can see those convex cones that pop up into those circle spots on the sides of the... I'm going to take a sip of my water here. Those convex cones pop up into the circles on the sides of the USB-C connector to seat the Switch in the dock and make sure it's sitting properly. Still has that nice matte finish that you come to expect from the Switch 2 and the Switch and the Switch 2. There are holes on the bottom now, so we've got some spot for air to flow around the console. They seem to be concerned with overheating on this thing because there's a fan inside this guy now. That's the biggest change, is that last time it was like bare bones electronics in there just to have do the pass through work to the TV and pass that HDMI signal. Now we've actually got a fan in this as well to help keep the console cool while it's on TV mode and processing at 4K or at 1080p 120 FPS. You've got your LAN port, your AC or your HDMI out here, and then this is where the AC adapter connects via USB-C. On the side, you've got two USB-A connectors for accessories and stuff like that. This guy, it looks like just clips on very easily. Feels nice, feels quality. As far as putting the console into this thing, let's see what that feels like. I'm going to put the Joy-Cons back on. Feels about the same. Yeah, feels about the same to slot it in. I remember initially some people were wanting to, or thinking that maybe Nintendo would have a little display here with a readout of like what the current time was, maybe what the weather was, or maybe some information about the about like, you know, the game you're playing on the TV right now. But it doesn't look like they decided to do that, and they've decided to just have the system's screen off, which makes sense because there'll be a lot of weird processing stuff, I think, to get that done. Finally, on the top of the console, one of the things they added, you've got the game card slot again. Looks like that door pops straight up this time. Interesting. It's got a little metal on the top. Weird. Yeah, that's kind of funky. I don't know. Can you really see that? Yeah, so there's like a little metal receiver that goes over the top of the card. And it's a lot easier to open. You just pop it up. That's a nice change. You got your aux port here, and then you've actually got another USB-C port here. So that is for accessories, extensions, accessories that you would want plugged in during TV mode, like the camera they put out. I didn't buy one of those. I don't think I'm going to use it because all my friends aren't buying a Switch 2. If one of you guys decides to buy a Switch 2, maybe I'll buy a camera and we can share our faces. I just don't really know that it's going to matter too much. The camera's only like $50, so it's not that crazy. But the other nice thing is that when you're playing this in tabletop mode, when you've got it up like this, you can now charge from this port. So they've kind of fixed that issue where you couldn't charge while you had it in tabletop mode, which annoyed a lot of people who were like playing it on airplanes because you would have to hold it in your hand in order to charge it because the port was on the bottom of the console as a necessity because it slots into the dock. But now they fixed that problem. So great, that's awesome. Glad they did that. You've got vents up top here. These are just to vent heat off the console. Pretty sure, like I said, these down here I think might be speakers, but they might be the vents as well. Just additional venting. And then you've got a volume rocker and the power button. So that's basically everything about the Switch itself. Let's take a quick look at the Pro Controller. And then I think I might stop my recording and switch over to a new recording for the setup process. I am going to be doing. I won't be able to complete everything in the setup because I'm going to be moving things over from my old console to my new one, so that's going to probably take a while. Interesting. I guess this is because the accessory ports on this are USB-A, but you get a USB-C to A controller cable. Fun. These are becoming less and less common, less and less useful. Normally, these days, you'd be seeing a USB-C to C connect cable. So interesting that you get a C to A cable with this guy. Kind of limits its functionality because I mean the charger that you get with this thing is a USB-C charger, so you wouldn't be able to say like use that if and charge your controller with the included cable. I don't know that really matters, but it might matter to some people. It's just kind of a curiosity because they're so rare these days. This thing feels a lot nicer. Wow, I'm very surprised by how much better this feels. Obviously, it's kind of hard to explain that. I didn't grab one of my other Pro controllers, but the old Pro controller felt nice, but it felt quite plasticky. This has a very smooth. It feels almost soft to the touch. The plastic is just very smooth. Nice matte finish on it. Sadly, no translucent plastic on this guy. We're back to straight matte black here with this. I don't know, gray or white. As my color blindness is kind of happening here. This almost looks aquamarine to me, but I think it's probably like a gray. Is my guess. I believe it matches what's going on in here underneath. Back here you've got some back buttons, so you've got some buttons you can hit with your fingers. You should be able to map those. Still digital, non-analog. That's something that the Switch has committed to, is always having those digital shoulder buttons. So no analog throw on these, no rumble on these like you're getting on the other consoles. Sticks feel nice. Buttons feel great. D-pad feels nice. And then you've got, I didn't mention it, but you've got the capture button, or I'm sorry, the chat button. This is for game chat. The C button. They brought back the C button from the days of the N64 when you had the 4 C buttons that were camera buttons. Because we originally had obviously a single sticked controller back before other controllers like were a thing, right? Like we didn't have dual analog at that time. So Nintendo's innovation was to add the 4 yellow C buttons on the N64 controller to control the camera. Then with their next console, the GameCube, they did another stick, but it was a teeny tiny little C stick, little yellow stick on the side. That was your right stick, was this little teeny tiny thing that games underutilized. Nintendo was really slow to get into dual analog sticks. Even when it came time to come to the Wii, you would have a you had the nunchuck, which was this separate thing that you would attach to your Wii remote to get a stick, but you still wouldn't have a right stick. It wasn't until they released the Classic Controller Pro 2 that you had 2 straight up dual sticks on a controller from Nintendo, and that was with the Wii U. Obviously, also the Wii U had the dual sticks on its regular Pro controller and its gamepad. But yeah, for the Wii itself, there was the Classic Controller Pro 2 that had dual sticks. Fun stuff, huh? Yeah, a little Nintendo history lesson for you, I suppose. This guy still has amiibo functionality, and it's got an NFC reader in it. All the same creature comforts of the original Pro Controller. See if they call it out, but I believe this still has a 40-hour battery life, like the original Pro Controller did. Doesn't seem to mention battery life on this guy. I remember on the last one it called it out on the console. But yeah, I'm assuming still a great battery life on this. USB-C connector. Nothing too fancy here, but feels great. Does have an aux port. The original Pro Controller did not have an aux port, so that's actually a huge benefit too. Okay. I am going to switch to a new recording, and we're going to go over the quick setup process, and then I'll get into it.